This bunker is considered one of the most advanced defensive structures on Earth. Buried nearly 295 feet beneath solid granite, protected by layers of reinforced concrete and natural terrain, it appears almost impossible to destroy. And yet, this supposedly invincible fortress can be reduced to rubble in just seconds under the devastating force of a B-2 Spirit bomber carrying 2 GBU-57 bunker buster bomb. So how can such a heavily fortified bunker be destroyed so easily? What gives this aircraft, often called the ghost of the skies, its terrifying destructive power? To understand the B-2 Spirit, we need to go back to the late 1970s, one of the most tense moments of the Cold War. Behind the Iron Curtain that divided Europe, the Soviet Union had built what many analysts considered the most formidable integrated air defense system in history. With the deployment of the S-200 Angara missile system and later the S-300, capable of intercepting targets from more than 200 miles away, Soviet airspace had effectively become an almost impenetrable defensive grid. For American B-52 Stratofortress bombers, whose radar signature was often compared to the size of a barn door, flying into such a network would have been dangerously close to a suicide mission. Facing this challenge, the Pentagon launched a top-secret program in 1979, the Advanced Technology Bomber ATB project. The program quickly became a competition between two aerospace giants, Lockheed and Northrop. While Lockheed focused on sharp angular stealth designs, Jack Northrop, the founder of Northrop, placed his bet on a concept he had pursued since the 1940s, the flying wing design.
The Northrop flying wing soaring over the Mojave Desert in California. It has no fuselage. All is contained in the wing, and it has no tail. It peels off with swift agility and looks like a bat.
Back in the 1940s, this bat-like shape was only a bold experiment plagued with aerodynamic instability. It would take nearly half a century before engineers, using the Cray-1 supercomputer, could finally solve complex Maxwell equations to calculate how radar waves reflect off smooth, curved surfaces. The result was astonishing. An aircraft with a 172 feet wingspan could appear on radar as little more than a small bird, sometimes even the size of a marble. When the B-2 Spirit was first unveiled at Plant 42 in 1988, the world was stunned by its cost.
This bomber would be literally worth its weight in gold, as much as $800 or $900 million per plane.
The total program would eventually reach nearly $45 billion. At today's value, that figure has nearly tripled to around $127 billion US. With that amount of money, you could build about 85 Burj Khalifa towers in Dubai, the tallest buildings in the world, or construct nearly 10 Gerald R. Ford-class supercarriers for the United States Navy. The B-2 was not just another aircraft, it was one of the most expensive weapons ever placed in the sky. As the 1990s began, the global geopolitical landscape changed almost overnight.
President Gorbachev has resigned. The last president of the Soviet Union went on television to tell his people he had no regrets about the policies he had pursued, and he would support the new Commonwealth.
In 1991, the collapse of the Soviet Union left the B-2 Spirit, a machine designed specifically to slip through dense radar defenses and deliver nuclear strikes, without its primary enemy. The result was a brutal wave of budget cuts. The Pentagon reduced its original order from 132 aircraft to just 21. This sudden scarcity drove the price of each bomber to an astonishing $2.2 billion, making it the most expensive aviation platform ever built.
The B-2 program is in a lot of trouble, a lot of difficulty, not for technical reasons, but simply the price tag.
Although its original mission against the Soviet Union had disappeared, the B-2 Spirit soon found a new role, one that almost no other aircraft in the world could perform. The new multipolar world order after the Cold War forced the United States to confront a different set of threats. Rival states in the Middle East and East Asia began moving their command centers, nuclear facilities, and missile silos deep underground. These hardened and deeply buried targets, HDBTs, were often protected by more than 30 feet of reinforced concrete or hidden beneath hundreds of feet of solid rock. While cruise missiles such as the Tomahawk were effective against surface targets, they lacked the mass and kinetic energy required to penetrate defenses of that depth. The United States needed a different solution, a stealth bomber capable of flying directly above the target and releasing extremely heavy, bunker-penetrating bombs with precision. That aircraft was the B-2 Spirit. Through modernization programs such as Block 30, the bomber evolved from a Cold War nuclear strike platform into a modern precision attack system equipped with advanced mission planning software and GPS-guided weapons. The B-2 had pivoted from a tool of nuclear deterrence into a precise bunker-destroying weapon. It became the only platform capable of flying halfway around the world and delivering 30,000-pound bunker-penetrating bombs with extreme accuracy. From that moment on, the B-2 Spirit became closely associated with a new role, destroying the deepest bunkers on Earth.
The B-2 is critical to deterrence because it provides enduring penetration capability for the bomber force.
To understand why the B-2 Spirit is considered the ultimate bunker destroyer, we must first look at its unique design. The aircraft uses a flying wing configuration with a massive 172-foot wingspan and no vertical tail, which significantly reduces aerodynamic drag. This stability is crucial, allowing the B-2 to carry payloads of more than 40,000 pounds. In practice, this means the bomber can deploy two 30,000-pound GBU-57 bunker buster bombs without losing balance, something smaller stealth fighters simply cannot do. The B-2's second major advantage is its stealth capability. The entire surface of the aircraft is coated with radar-absorbent material, RAM, designed to scatter radar waves instead of reflecting them back to the source. The aircraft is powered by 4 GEF-118-GE-100 jet engines buried deep inside the wing, while the air intakes are positioned on the upper surface to reduce radar exposure. As a result, the radar signature of the B-2 is extremely small, often compared to the size of a bird on a radar screen, allowing the bomber to approach heavily defended targets undetected. But destroying a bunker is far from a simple task. The process usually begins at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, where B-2 crews analyze satellite imagery, intelligence reports, and digital terrain maps to determine the exact coordinates of an underground target. After takeoff, the B-2 begins a long-range penetration mission. With the help of aerial refueling aircraft, it can remain airborne for over 40 hours, allowing it to fly halfway around the world without landing at forward bases. In real combat operations, the B-2 rarely flies completely alone. Electronic warfare aircraft such as the EA-18G Growler jam enemy radar and communication systems. At higher altitudes and greater distances, F-22 Raptor fighters patrol the surrounding airspace to intercept any hostile aircraft attempting to approach. Meanwhile, the B-2 remains nearly invisible, quietly aligning itself with the target coordinates. Using advanced digital mission planning systems and GPS navigation, the crew calculates the precise moment to release the weapon. When the aircraft reaches the release point, the bomb bay doors open and the massive GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator is deployed. This weapon is the largest non-nuclear bunker buster bomb in the U.S. arsenal. It measures roughly 20 feet in length and weighs nearly 30,000 pounds. Its casing is made from high-strength steel alloy, designed to withstand extreme impact forces without deforming. Dropped from high altitude, the bomb accelerates rapidly under gravity, building enormous kinetic energy as it plunges toward the target. During the fall, an inertial guidance system combined with GPS continuously corrects its trajectory, ensuring an accuracy of just a few miles. This allows the weapon to strike the precise location of the bunker, even when the target lies deep underground. Upon impact, the penetrator can punch through tens of feet of rock or several feet of reinforced concrete before the warhead detonates deep beneath the surface. For bunker penetration missions, this is critical. By approaching directly above the release point, the B-2 can drop the bomb at a nearly vertical angle, maximizing kinetic energy and penetration depth. Meanwhile, the aircraft's flat underside helps conceal its heat signature from infrared missiles below. For extremely deep targets, crews may use a more aggressive tactic known as the double drop technique. First, the initial bomb is released to break through the upper layers of protection and create a deep crater, sometimes up to 200 feet deep. Just seconds later, a second bomb falls directly into that crater, penetrating even deeper before detonating. When the explosion occurs, enormous pressure waves travel through the surrounding rock and concrete, and in that moment, the bunker, designed to survive war, finally collapses from the inside.
It's just an incredible marvel to see something of such an unorthodox shape. It's almost an eerie sense of awe that you get when you see that aircraft flying.
Everything you have seen about the extraordinary power of the B-2 Spirit is not just theory. In real combat, this aircraft has achieved remarkable records that we will now take a closer look at. In 1999, during the Kosovo War, the B-2 Spirit entered combat for the first time. 6 B-2 bombers flew directly from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, carrying out missions that lasted nearly 30 hours non-stop. Despite accounting for only about 1% of NATO's total sorties, the B-2 destroyed 33% of Serbia's strategic targets during the first 8 weeks of the campaign. By 2003, during Operation Iraqi Freedom, the B-2 served as the opening strike of the war. On the very first night, these stealth bombers used GPS-guided JDAM bombs to attack command bunkers associated with Saddam Hussein, disrupting Iraq's military command structure and clearing the way for coalition ground forces. Throughout the campaign, B-2 bombers conducted 49 combat missions. Of these, 27 sorties flew directly from Whiteman Air Force Base, while 22 missions were launched from Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. Despite their small numbers, the aircraft dropped more than 1.5 million pounds of bombs and struck around 600 targets, including command bunkers, air defense systems, military bases, and units of the Republican Guard around Baghdad. And even today, as we discuss the B-2 Spirit, it continues to expand its combat legacy, destroying some of the most heavily fortified bunkers in the world, buried beneath nearly 300 feet of solid rock. Nuclear facilities in Iran were largely immune to conventional cruise missiles, which would have little more effect than throwing stones against a wall. Only the B-2, armed with the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, could carry out such a mission. Using the double drop technique, B-2 bombers released 14 MOP bombs, 12 targeting the Fordo facility and 2 striking Natanz, successfully destroying the targets. For more than 4 decades, the B-2 has been more than just a bomber. It stands as a reminder that even the most heavily fortified strongholds can still be destroyed from the sky. With such impressive power, would you believe that the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber also has an Achilles heel? It is not its speed or its size. Instead, the aircraft's extremely sensitive stealth coating, along with the enormous cost required to maintain it, reveals a hidden vulnerability. Each hour of B-2 flight can cost up to $130,000, nearly twice the annual income of an average American household. Maintenance itself can take hundreds of hours, involving dozens of specialized technicians and extremely high operating costs. Much of this expense comes from the aircraft's radar-absorbent material, RAM, coating. This material is designed to absorb radar waves, but it is also extremely delicate. Even small cracks on the surface can increase the aircraft's radar signature, potentially exposing the B-2 and reducing its stealth capability. In addition, the B-2's distinctive flying wing design is not optimized for agility. While the shape helps reduce radar detection, it also makes the aircraft less maneuverable in complex combat situations. The B-2 is not meant to be a highly agile fighter. Instead, it functions more like a strategic assassin designed to destroy high-value fixed targets such as underground bunkers or heavily defended military facilities. For this reason, the B-2 Spirit is often seen as a technological gamble, achieving near-perfect stealth capability but requiring enormous resources to maintain it. Nearly 100 combat missions and more than 600 strategic targets struck, the unprecedented achievements of the B-2 Spirit across the battlefields of Kosovo and Iraq pushed the Chinese government toward a bold decision, developing its own stealth bomber, the H-20. This move by China, along with Russia's PAK-DA program and similar projects in other countries, demonstrates how the B-2 has reshaped global thinking about air defense strategy.
So now we have low-cost interceptors effectively combating Iranian drones, and our B-2 bombers recently dropped dozens of 2,000-pound bombs to destroy missile launchers.
For Washington, the B-2 serves as the ultimate sword and shield. It turns nuclear facilities buried deep inside mountains, once believed to be untouchable, into targets fully within reach of the United States. For America's rivals, including Iran, Russia, and China, the existence of the B-2 presents a serious strategic challenge. Passive defense strategies such as digging deeper tunnels or building heavily reinforced bunkers can no longer guarantee absolute security. As a result, many countries have been forced to invest tens of billions of dollars into next-generation radar systems, sensor networks, and surveillance satellites designed to detect stealth aircraft. The B-2 Spirit may one day retire, but it has already proven its overwhelming power in the skies over the nations it has flown above. The B-2 Spirit is more than a machine. It is the ultimate pinnacle of human engineering and military intelligence, a $2 billion ghost capable of turning the world's strongest fortresses into dust without leaving a trace. It stands as a reminder that in this era, no barrier is impenetrable and no shelter is absolute. However, we admire this power not to promote violence or bloody conflicts. After all, even the most advanced weapons carry the weight of tragedy and loss. War should never be celebrated. The true greatness of the B-2 lies not in its ability to strike, but in its power of deterrence, ensuring that the guns stay silent.